What if I told you the secret to being unshakable has nothing to do with fighting your feelings or pretending the world is different than it is? What you're about to learn isn't about building a wall around your heart or forcing yourself to feel nothing. It's not a technique of mental suppression or a set of positive affirmations to shout into the mirror. The real path to a life where external events lose their power to destabilize you is far more profound, and it's almost always missed because we're trained to look for fixes everywhere but within. Have you ever wondered how some individuals navigate profound loss, professional chaos, or personal betrayal with a steadiness that seems almost superhuman, while others are thrown into turmoil by a stray comment or a minor inconvenience? This disparity isn't about luck or inherent temperament. A hidden mechanism operates beneath the surface of our awareness. The common mistake is believing our emotions are direct, inevitable products of the things that happen to us, that reality is a fixed script we must react to. This is an illusion. Every single experience you have is interpreted. It passes through a filter, a lens crafted from old wounds, unconscious beliefs, and stories you've carried for decades. It's like your mind is a projector, casting its inner film onto the blank screen of the world. If the film is filled with scenes of fear or unworthiness, that is what you will see reflected back, not because life is cruel, but because you cannot perceive outside your own internal programming. But here is the pivotal shift that changes everything. This work isn't about eradicating pain or achieving a numb state of indifference. It's about transforming your relationship to your own inner world. It's about learning to decode your emotions and reprogram the very filter through which you perceive. When you master this, you don't become a rock, you become the deep ocean. Waves may move across your surface, but your depths remain undisturbed, powerful, and clear. Today, I'll guide you through the exact principles that anchor this transformation. You'll learn how to turn anxiety into a map, how to let anger reveal your boundaries, and how to cultivate a serenity that depends on no person, job, or outcome. What you're about to discover can redefine your existence, but only if you're willing to turn your gaze inward and question the narratives you've lived by. Imagine your life if you could finally remove that distorting lens. The human psyche is not a simple surface. Think of it as a vast, intricate castle. The rooms you live in daily, your conscious thoughts, are just a few chambers. Beneath them lie endless halls, cellars, and archives holding everything you've ever felt, feared, or forgotten. The pioneering psychologist Carl Jung taught us that what remains in those unseen archives doesn't vanish, it governs us from the shadows. It projects itself onto our relationships, our choices, and our sense of what's possible. What you do not make conscious, he said, will eventually come to you as fate. Consider how fear operates in your life. It rarely announces itself as pure terror. It whispers as procrastination when you delay a dream. It mutters as people-pleasing when you sacrifice your needs to avoid conflict. It shouts as jealousy or self-doubt. Jung suggested that these emotions are not enemies to be destroyed. They are messengers, often clumsy, distressing messengers, from those hidden parts of yourself, pointing directly at what needs acknowledgement and integration. Yet, our instinct is to silence the messenger. We rationalize, suppress, scroll, shop, or hustle to avoid the discomfort. But a silenced messenger doesn't disappear, it goes back into the cellar and grows louder, shaping your reality in ways you no longer recognize. Picture a river. You're standing in it, and a strong current comes, a surge of sadness, a rush of anger. Most people panic. They try to stand rigid against the flow, to push the water back, exhausting themselves in the struggle. The secret is not to fight the current, but to learn to float within it, to observe its strength and direction without being swept away. Your emotions are that current, temporary, dynamic, and natural. They are not a life sentence. The suffering comes not from feeling them, but from our frantic resistance to their very existence. So, what if you stopped fighting the water? What if, the next time a dense sadness arises, you didn't label it bad and rush to cure it? Instead, you might sit with it, respectfully, and ask, what is ending here? What attachment is this pain asking me to release? When anxiety tightens your chest, you could pause and inquire, what future am I picturing that feels so unsafe? What belief about my own capability is being challenged? Anger, so often condemned, is frequently a blazing signal that a boundary has been crossed, that a core value has been violated. It's a call to action, not to rage. When you begin to listen to the message, not just react to the noise, everything changes. And as your inner world shifts, your external reality cannot help but follow. Let's make this practical. Recall a recent trigger, a criticism, a rejection, a plan that fell apart. Notice your standard reaction. Now, insert a pause. Breathe. Step back mentally and watch the scene as if you're a witness in the balcony, not an actor on the stage. Ask yourself, which part of me is reacting so strongly? Is this truly about what just happened, or does it touch a much older, unhealed wound? This simple act of observation creates a space. Jung called it the transcendent function, a point of awareness separate from the emotional storm. From this space, you realize a profound truth: nothing outside you has any power except the power you grant it through your unconscious agreement. The world affects you only where you are already internally tender. This is the master key to unshakable peace. It's not about controlling the storm. It's about remembering you are the sky, vast enough to contain any weather. When you dwell in this awareness, storms no longer threaten you. You understand they will pass, and you might even learn something vital from the rain. Now, examine your recurring thoughts. You'll find many aren't even yours, they're hand-me-downs from parents, culture, past failures. The key? You don't have to keep them. Imagine, starting now, you choose a new narrative. Instead of reinforcing "I'm not built for this," you nurture "I am learning my way through this." The unconscious mind, Jung noted, takes its cues from the stories we repeat. It doesn't argue with reality, it becomes the reality you describe. Feed it tales of resilience and self-compassion, and your life begins to mirror those qualities. Let's apply this. Think of someone who lives for external approval, perpetually exhausted from performing. Their core wound is a fear of being unlovable as they are. Their transformation begins not when others finally applaud, but when they dare to see this pattern, to bring this shadow of desperate seeking into the light. As they acknowledge this fear, they can start to validate themselves. They set boundaries. They say no. And miraculously, relationships either deepen with respect or fade away, making room for connections that require no performance. Or consider someone paralyzed by the fear of failure. They see every misstep as proof of inadequacy. When they reframe failure not as an identity but as pure data, the necessary friction for growth, their entire relationship with ambition changes. The fear loosens its grip because their worth is no longer on the line with every attempt. Every thought is a seed. Water seeds of lack and fear, and you'll harvest a forest of anxiety. Water seeds of inner trust and acceptance, and you cultivate an inner landscape of peace. This isn't metaphysics, it's neuroplasticity. Your brain reinforces the pathways you use most. So, the next time a limiting thought arises, don't just accept it. Interrogate it. Is this absolutely true? Does this belief serve the life I want to live? In that questioning, you reclaim your authority. You see that the thought's power was only ever on loan from you. And here's the most liberating insight of all: you don't need your circumstances to change to find peace. You need to change how you meet your circumstances. A person viewing life as a series of hostile attacks will find evidence everywhere. A person choosing to see life as a dynamic school will find lessons everywhere. Jung famously said, "What you resist, persists." Struggle against life, and you magnetize struggle. Flow with curious acceptance, and you find flow. Imagine living without the fear of judgment, because your self-worth is sourced internally. Imagine facing uncertainty not with dread, but with a quiet trust in your capacity to handle whatever comes. This is genuine freedom, not the absence of challenges, but the presence of an unassailable inner anchor. That peace you've sought in achievements, relationships, or escapes? It has always been within, waiting for your recognition. When you stop outsourcing your stability, nothing and no one can ever take it from you again. But this brings us to a crucial juncture. This work isn't about achieving perfect flatline happiness. It's about emotional agility. The goal is to feel everything without being ruled by anything. It's the flexibility of the bamboo, not the rigidity of the oak. True power lies in that capacity to experience the full spectrum of human emotion while remaining centered in your conscious awareness. Let's use a real example. You're in a tense meeting. Old, automatic reactions begin to flare: defensiveness, anxiety. This time, you employ the pause. You feel the heat rise, and instead of fueling it, you witness it. You ask, "What old story of not being good enough is this touching?" From that place of witness, why? Respond, not react. Your words become measured, your presence grounded. You haven't suppressed, you've transcended. This is how you break cycles. By realizing that what irritates you and others often points to a disowned part of yourself, your shadow. That critical colleague? Their judgment may sting only where you yourself are secretly self-critical. By owning that inner critic, the external one loses his fangs. This is emotional responsibility, the decision to see every external trigger as an invitation for internal clarification. It's the ultimate power move. You stop blaming the world for how you feel and start using your feelings as a compass for your own growth. Your deepest peace is found not in calm waters, but in knowing you can navigate any storm. Now, how do you begin to build this inner fortress? First, practice the pause. Create a moment of silence between stimulus and response. Second, become a curious archaeologist of your own reactions. Ask, where in my history does this feeling first live? Third, consciously nurture new narratives. Write them down. Speak them. Your mind believes what you consistently tell it. And remember, this is a practice, not a perfect state. Some days the waves will be high. Your job is not to stop the ocean, but to remember you are the sailor, learning to adjust the sails. If this resonates with you, and you want to continue this journey of mastering your inner world, you're in the right place. Support this channel, Winds of Thought, by hitting the like button. It helps us grow and bring more content like this to you. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our deep dives into psychology, meaning, and mastering the mind. Subscribe to Winds of Thought for more.